Wow, I just watched probably one of the best action movies in my life so far. Rebel Ridge is out on Netflix right now. It's been out for about a week or so, and you should really watch it. I know the title of this video is a little forceful, and you don't need to watch Rebel Ridge, but it's such an enriching experience for a lot of reasons. So if you have the time, and especially if you live in America, watching Rebel Ridge is a worthwhile use of your time. And even if you don't live in America and you just want to learn more about civil asset forfeiture, or if you just want to watch a great action movie that's super smart and emotional and human, consider giving this movie a shot. I'm not sure if you can watch Rebel Ridge on other streaming platforms, but it's definitely on Netflix. And after watching this film, I'm kind of bummed that this didn't get a theatrical release because the reviews for this movie are raving. Incredible ratings for this film. And articles have been talking about how this and this other movie called His Three Daughters are Netflix's two best original films they've had in a while. And so right now we're kind of witnessing a Netflix renaissance in terms of their movies, which is kind of rare, so good for them. I haven't watched His Three Daughters, but since it's being compared to Rebel Ridge, I really want to check it out. It has Elizabeth Olsen in it and a couple of other actors, and the synopsis seems interesting. But the synopsis for Rebel Ridge is this former Marine confronts corruption in a small town when local law enforcement unjustly seizes the bag of cash he needs to post his cousin's bail, which once again is under civil asset forfeiture. It's like a thing that the police and law enforcement can do to civilians. That's just really apparently common in everyday life in America and maybe other parts of the world as well. And it's just not a good thing to go through. You have to give the law enforcement however amount of money, and then if you want to get it back, you actually have to sue either the government or the law enforcement, which will cost way more than what was taken from you. And that's just apparently a real thing that happens to people a fair amount of times. So that's fascinating to think about. And this movie handles this topic very respectfully, I would say. I've watched interviews of the cast of Rebel Ridge talking about how this movie could have very easily been about race and this revenge story that's super action-packed, but instead this movie surprises you and goes down a more intellectual, human, emotional, just route where this isn't a revenge story, as the cast have said in interviews. This is more a justice story about this man getting back what was rightfully his in the first place. And that's a very nice twist to a formula that we've seen a bunch of times. And once again, when you're watching the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, it does lead you down a path where it feels like this is about race. But as you continue watching, you realize that it's a lot more human and kind of simpler than that, which is just a human had something wrongfully done to him, and now he wants to right the wrong. And I love that. It keeps it very essential to the human experience and doesn't really make it about one thing or another. It's something that we can all relate to regardless of race. And that's great. That's another way that this movie subverts your expectations. This is an action movie that doesn't have too many fatalities. The main character, Terry, played by Aaron Pierre, who also played mid-sized Sudan in the M. Night Shyamalan movie Old. He plays a former Marine who's just really good at close combat, but he's also very logical and intellectual and just kind of a pacifist at heart. You've probably seen that clip in trailers, but there's a clip of Terry just swiftly unloading the magazines out of a gun and then throwing the gun at the police officer. That's just one of the many awesome action sequences in this film that aren't necessarily action, so to say, because nothing's really being done, right? It's kind of harmless. He's just unloading magazines, but it's just so cool. Aaron Pierre makes it badass. And yeah, there's just a lot of non-lethal combat and action in this film, and it's super creative and a fantastic spin on the action movie genre that I haven't really seen before. compare this to something like John Wick and it's night and day, though I love both movies and franchises. The thing that got me to actually watch this movie though are actually two things. Number one was the constant raving reviews from just the general public for this film. Once again, the ratings for this film are insane. But also number two, AnnaSophia Robb is in this movie and she's like my North Star. She's one of my biggest inspirations and I just absolutely love her and will support anything that she does. So Rebel Ridge was always gonna be on my radar, and eventually yesterday I watched it, and AnnaSophia Robb is an incredible part in this movie. I was a little afraid that her role was gonna be small, just judging by the posters and promotional art for this movie. She's kind of tucked away at the back, but I'm very, very happy to see that she is a crucial part of this film. And because of this film, more people are starting to discover AnnaSophia Robb for the first time, which is crazy to me because I've known her for so long. So to see and witness people discovering her for the first time makes me feel so good inside. I hope that people explore her entire filmography. Maybe this will draw more people to watch Bridge to Terabithia, Soul Surfer, which I haven't made a video on, but I really, really want to because of Winn-Dixie. She just has a really good resume of movies, and yeah, I'm excited for people to find out about those movies through her. But if you've been on this channel for a while, then you probably already know who AnnaSophia is. And I mean, rest assured, she is excellent in this film. She has a thick southern accent. I think this story takes place in Texas, though I'm not entirely sure, which could explain her thick southern accent. But I mean, as we've seen from Because of Winn-Dixie, AnnaSophia can put on a southern accent. So it's not really a surprise, but yeah, it's just fun that she has an accent in this film. And you're not gonna believe this, Aaron Pierre also has an accent in this film because Aaron Pierre is actually British. So for this entire film, he's putting on an American accent, an incredibly believable one at that. I just assumed he was American because I wasn't too familiar with him aside from his role in Old as Mid-Size Sedan, which is the best character name of all time. Mid-Size Sedan, like how does someone come up with that? But yeah, having two of the main leads putting on an accent must be really fun because I just imagine like them reverting to their actual accents between breaks, and that must be so funny to witness the constant changing of accents. Don Johnson is also another main lead in this film though, and he doesn't put on an accent, he just sounds like that, and he's also incredible in this film. Everyone in this movie is incredible, and Jeremy Saulnier, I think is how you pronounce his name, but he's the director of this movie, and judging from the interviews I've seen from the cast of Rebel Ridge, he's a very respected and acclaimed director who I just found out for the first time, but the cast seem to love him and revere him, and I can see why. This movie is just so smart and human and well shot and thought through. Everything just kind of makes sense. Even though there's this complicated plot line about, you know, law and corruption, you can pretty much keep up with it throughout the whole runtime of the movie. And yeah, just the fact that Jeremy wanted to tell this story and the fact that he did tell it in such an earnest and badass but also human way speaks levels to his directing skills. And I heard that everyone was also taken care of on set, like the production team, everyone, the actors. So that's incredible. And it's no wonder that the movie came out as well as it did, because even just the way the director and the production team were treated was just incredible. And that usually leads to a great product in the end, because you're taking care of the people that are working on the film, which is a wonderful thing to see. David Denman is also in this film. He's great. He plays Roy in The Office, I think. That's where I recognize him from. I'm sure he's been in other stuff as well, but it's Roy from The Office, guys. He's now a cop. This movie has a few twists and turns, but you're not really there for the plot twist, so to say. The movie constantly grips you with its intensity more than anything. Everything's just so serious, and there's this constant sense of urgency that they do really well. There are some light moments, which I like, especially from Terry. He's this super calm and collected guy who's super badass, but he also has those moments where he just shows another side of him that's more goofy, and there aren't that many many moments like that, but when there are, it's humanizing, so those are great additions to the film. To shift the topic a little bit, if I had to critique this movie, which is almost near darn perfect, I will say that there's just one particular choice that a particular character makes that was kind of predictable and a little frustrating in a way. And that was the only moment in the film where I felt a little drawn out from the movie, where I was kind of reminded that this is a movie. But besides that one particular sequence, when you're watching this film, you feel like these are real people and this is a real event that could happen to anyone. It's so real in that way. And yeah, this movie just grips you with its creativity and intelligence and emotion. And Aaron Pierre just carries this whole thing on his back. Don Johnson and AnnaSophia Robb and everyone else is incredible, but it's really like Aaron is just awesome in this film. I couldn't really imagine any other actor doing what he did in this film. It's such a physical role, yet requires a sense of humility and pacifism that I think Aaron just exudes. If you see him in interviews, he's just super smiley and respectful of everyone around him. Like, Aaron is just so perfect for this role. I love the dynamic between Aaron, Terry, and Summer in the movie. They're just two people who either are going through something horrible or have gone through horrible things, and they're just trying to help each other out. And even though this is a pretty dark film, they represent the humanity and light in the world of just people trying to do the good thing, the right thing, and just trying to help each other out. So that's wonderful. And also, I want to say that Don Johnson, Sandy, the cop, aka antagonist in this movie, is done pretty well. There's always that quote where it's like, every villain thinks they're the hero of their own story, and I can kind of understand where Sandy's coming from. He has things and responsibilities that he has to check off, and so he's doing things his way, the way that works for him. It's screwing a lot of people, but he needs to do these things. Well, from his perspective, he does. And this movie is empathetic even towards the quote-unquote villain and the antagonistic forces in this movie, which are the law enforcement and just law in general. I think I read somewhere that Jeremy wanted to take a non-lethal and non-hostile approach when it came to dealing with law enforcement in this movie, and that was pretty interesting. Jeremy strikes me as also a pacifist who doesn't believe in violence, so it's just a really interesting take that none of the cops in this film die. They're just badly wounded, and as mentioned, Terry is just non-violent, so no one really gets hurt too badly. And yeah, that's what makes it such an interesting action film, because you could technically watch this with your family. I would say it's sort of family friendly in the sense that there are very few deaths, but it is very heavy dealing with corruption and addiction and these kind of things. But yeah, all the characters are great, all the actors are great, directing is phenomenal, and just this story is something that I feel like is needed in the world, and I think makes the world a better place. So I'm really glad that Rebel Ridge exists, and I hope that people see it and recognize it more than just an action movie and come to know it as just a study of the indomitable human spirit. I know that's cheesy, but that's kind of what Terry embodies. And Summer, they're just super flawed, but they're trying to do the right thing. There's something so relatable and essentially human about that. And Jeremy gets that, everyone in the cast gets that, and they seem to be super enthralled to be part of this project, which is such a cute thing to see, that they're appreciative to be part of this project. That's always awesome, and that is why you need to see Rebel Ridge. It's on Netflix, maybe on other streaming platforms as well. I'm kind of bummed now that this movie doesn't have a theatrical release. I hope Aaron Pierre, Don Johnson, and AnnaSophia Robb are nominated for awards for their performance in this movie, and also for Jeremy for directing. I believe they did win some awards already or got nominated for awards. I have to check this, but I hope that just keeps on going and going. Let's run this puppy up, and the other movie as well, which is apparently good, His Three Daughters. Let's run it up, and let's just keep on doing our best to be better people and just have fun and be loving to each other. But enough of my yapping. What did you think of this movie? Have you watched it? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to read your responses. Thank you so much for being here as always. Thank you for watching. And just remember, I appreciate your appreciation. Have a wonderful day.